Start recording. Okay, yeah, so what's been going on? Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I said, what's been going on?
Oh, Melee's been pretty good. Still practicing a lot. My main focus has been reaction points.
Okay, how does that work?
Um, so it like in practice, I'm like thinking about it a lot, but then um, I guess I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, slash I'm not seeing like objective results where I'm like, oh wow, I'm reacting to everything, you know?
Sure.
Um, and then in single player, like I'm not sure how to practice reaction points still.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure if it's like doing anything.
Well, usually what I would do is I would just practice doing various common inputs while making sure I'm looking at, like, not my character, like a CPU or something.
Hmm.
So I would practice, like, doing a short hop nair and trying to acquire a sense for when during the nair is the last thing I can see before I'm actionable from the nair.
Okay, so you like call it out almost.
In your
The
mind,
last
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Or like I would roll and practice having an intuitive sense for, okay, this is the last thing I see before I'm actionable out of my roll. I would do it with your wave dash. Conveniently, your wave dash should be almost exactly the same as your reaction time. So, like
Hmm.
with Fox, when you input X or Y, like a couple frames before you input X is exactly when you look. So, wave dash is probably one of the easiest ones to learn because it's like you look at them, and then the instant after you look at them, you press X or Y for your wave dash, and then that is like your reaction point essentially. That is the information you're using.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I
Uh,
would kind of do things like that, and you could do it during various common inputs. It's a short hop, wave dash, roll, full hop. Those are probably the most common ones. You can also do it while grabbing the ledge during a fire stall, during a ledge dash. You can do it during some platform movement. You know, you could do it during a spot dodge, whatever you want, really. But I think once you train yourself to like do your inputs and have an intuitive sense for when during that input you can kind of see things and when it's too late to see things.
hmm.
And then you also just, what's it called? So I said you have your eyes on them, you know when it happens, then you'll be able to start putting it together after that.
Hmm.
Because the whole point, again, is it's not like you have this super task one frame reaction to everything. It's more like, okay, well, I have a 15 frame reaction time, which I can use to optimize how much information I'm acquiring. And it's more about like, okay, do I feel like I'm seeing all the information available before I make my decisions?
Right.
And I mean, even if you know how to look, using that information is a whole nother challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also part of it is that you could be seeing and not using the information well, and then you'll have to start being like, okay, well, I totally did notice that this happened. I just made the wrong choice. So what choice should I have made? And that's a whole different area to improve.
Yeah, so it feels like there's two mistakes I'm making. Like either I'm choosing not to react at all, so I
Mm-hmm.
throw out a move way before I could react to anything,
Mm-hmm.
or my reaction time is like 30 frames instead of 15 frames.
Yeah,
Like I'm
and that's the
playing
common
that.
one. I think. I think it's most exactly what you said. Is that like it's not that people don't react at all. Well, sometimes they don't, but for the most part, people kind of try to react. It's just they're reacting in these enormous chunks of, like you said, like 30 frames and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So they're really not optimizing the amount of information they can take in. And the other thing is like no, I mean there was something else, but it's not that important. But yeah, I agree. I think what you described is very common, and it is definitely one of the major issues people come across.
Yep. So that's been like my main focus
Cool.
uh since the last lesson. Yeah.
That's really good then. Um, Does the method of practicing it make sense?
Um, yeah, like in like solo practice, it kind of makes sense. Just
Mm-hmm.
like inputting the moves and then looking.
Mm-hmm.
But like in friendlies, um, I guess it's still hard for me to like play the game and then just also do it, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
like
that's
it's just
normal.
like on the top of my mind, but it's not like I don't feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's normal. I think it's pretty hard to learn, especially if you've already played the game for a while. But
Yeah.
excuse me. I think you just need to give it time. Um,
Okay.
but part of it is also analysis, because, like I said, I mean, seeing things doesn't help if you don't know what to do with that information. Because at the end of the day, if you see something, you know, a split second before you do an action, and then you're about to do a second action, you not only have to see the thing, but then you have to decide what to do based off of that, which also takes time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something that has to be trained. Because, for example, I don't know, let's say you let's do something easy, like you buffer a roll, right? And your opponent whiffs a really laggy move during your roll that you can punish, like a mark forward smash. Okay, so what would you do then?
Um, Probably dash toward them and then either grab or like up
Yeah,
smash.
exactly. So that's one thing. So one, you would have to know based off the percent whether you want to grab or up smash, right? So you'd have to have awareness of the game state perfectly going into it. Then you have to react, and you also have to be ready for if they don't do that thing. Because maybe you're not even expecting that forward smash. Maybe you're like expecting, okay, he just did this thing, and then I think he's gonna dash dance here, or I think he's gonna down tilt here, and then he randomly forward smashes, and you weren't even expecting it. Well, that's also like an added layer to be concerned with, right? Because you have to be ready for what you were looking for during the roll. You're like, okay, I'm rolling here. If he does one of these things, I'm going to dash. If he does this, I'm going to full hop. Oh, he forward smashed. Okay, let me switch to doing this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's another thing, that these things have to be like built in very deeply, and you have to be very, very ready to where when you see that forward smash, you're just instantly reacting without even thinking about it. Um, and then you add another thing, which is that you also have to be able to recognize things effectively. Because if we both were in the same spot and did a buffer roll, I think it would be somewhat likely that I would see that Marth was F smashing like a couple frames earlier than you saw it. Maybe because I just noticed the change in animation better.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you tell me, oh, it's not really immediately getting better, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of, you see how many variables there are, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, but that is, I mean, what we're all, everyone is doing this at some level when they play. But again, this is about optimizing it. It's about being better at it. Because once you can do it better, I mean, your game will just change completely. You'll be playing a very different game than the people you're fighting, and that's a pretty big advantage.
Yeah. Do you think there's some like characters that like reaction points are prioritized?
Probably. I mean, I would say this is just a basic requirement for playing the game,
Yeah.
because it's just about optimizing your information intake, which is something you should do with every character. But yeah, it's probably true that different characters can be more or less effective with more or less optimized reactions. Hard to say which ones, but it would essentially come down to which characters can get away with like blindly following a game plan in the most spots and get like a reward for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really feel like getting into which characters I think that is or isn't. It's not super important, but you get the
Yeah.
idea, right? That there would be some idea that, oh, well, if Falco does this without reacting at these points, he can still be very effective. But when, I don't know, Marth tries to do it, it doesn't really work out, which isn't how I feel, but
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But hopefully you see why this is like, you're just not playing Melee if you're not doing this at some level. You're just like missing half the game, essentially.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Well, I'm glad you've been working on it. Do you feel like you've been practicing it well? I didn't get a
Um,
super clear answer on that, so I wasn't sure.
no, not results wise, but like it's like at the top of my list.
Yeah.
like,
But
like it's on the top of my mental
but you're
stack, and
doing what
then
I described, right?
yeah.
Cool. I mean, when you play, do you not feel like you notice what the opponent's doing more at all?
I notice when I make the mistakes, like
Hey, I mean
when
that's
I'm
great. I think I
yeah,
said it
the
last time,
mistakes are a
but
lot more
noticing the
apparent.
mistake is the first part. So I would say that is a result. I mean, you need to be able to see the mistake first before you do anything else. Okay. So are we good with that?
Yep,
Cool. Okay. Can you see my screen?
yep.
Okay. Let's talk about Fox Sheik then. But I mean, we'll look at reaction points while we do this. And I mean, there's also all the 1 billion other things we've talked about, which we don't have to go over right now. We kind of went over them the last couple times, right? So,
Yeah,
as long as they're just vaguely on your mind, I'll keep reminding you. It's important to think about game physics, to think about mix-ups, to think about all this stuff because I want you to notice it more and more while you play, so that when you go analyze melee, you have the tools to analyze it well. And I think these thoughts will come together, sooner rather than later. So, can you see?
yep.
Cool. Beautiful. That's Fox Sheik in a nutshell. Get grabbed and then the Sheik you shine them and they mess up their ledge dash. Okay. Do you see this?
Yeah.
So I think here, actually, it looks like you tried to shine on reaction and messed up. But this is where practicing the reaction points comes in because I'm sure that you did try to react to this, but by the time you reacted, you're like, okay, let me get this running shine, and yeah, see, you can see that you're
Yeah.
pressing B even. Hey, you put the overlay. That's funny.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I wanted to
but
do
yeah,
a
you can see you
video.
press B, and like this is where the practice comes in because like not only do you have to react, but you have to like practice doing things on reaction, and like you might be worse at doing a running shine on reaction out of a dash dance than you are compared to just doing a raw running shine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can't up smash at that percent. Do you think you meant to short hop up there?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you know that full hop up air combos here?
Um, I guess I don't know the differences between when I'm supposed to do it because
Okay.
I kind of just
Well, short hop up
lower
air never
percent.
Well, short hop up air never combos.
Okay.
Uh, the way it works is that full hop up air starts comboing at some percent, and anything before that, people just like doing short hop up air sometimes because of the Sheik mashes nair. Sometimes it can get them like a free combo.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise the Sheik might double jump and then you can full hop up air their double jump. Does,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah, so I'm just supposed to it like the short hop up here is only like a nair read.
Yeah, pretty much. Or a read that they're not jumping in general.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
opposed to double jumping, which would dodge your short hop up air, but you can full hop up air. But knowing your percents is important here. So it's somewhat port dependent. But essentially on no DI, if you're really, really fast, up throw up air starts working as low as like 9 or 10%. And
Well.
she did no DI here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's just a full hop up there, no
Yeah.
brainer.
Yep, no brainer. On DI to the side though, it's much harder because the sheet goes lower and you have to dash. The way it works is a bit complicated. I won't get into it, but what you need to know for now is around 30 or so, up throw up air becomes very reliable regardless of your port and regardless of DI.
Okay.
So on no DI, you can start doing it as low as around 9. I think that requires you to be like frame perfect or close to it. So realistically, maybe you add a couple percent to that until you're good at it. Maybe we say 15 or something. Around 30 on all DI definitely works. talk about this real quick. It's a pretty common problem, especially versus Sheik, but versus every character really. So this up air, it's like a rising up air, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that Sheik has a lot of frames to move after this up air?
Yeah, she can shield
At,
drop. She can
yeah,
do whatever.
as opposed to like if it was a late aerial, right? You have less frame advantage off of this.
Yeah.
So the thing that happened here is pretty sure you tried to shine grab, and it didn't work at all, which is why you end up grabbing on this platform. And it comes back to realizing that like that shine grab seems in a lot of people's minds like, oh, it's a mix up here. But like that assumes that the Sheik will just hold shield between the up air and the shine, which she doesn't have to because you don't have that much frame advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think something to think about is just like I think when people first learn melee, especially when they start thinking about mix-ups, they just kind of think about their side. But you should really think about how much time your opponent has to do things. And I think it's common with Sheik in particular. She's a very like slippery character. She has a lot of really fast moves, a lot of really big moves. It's kind of hard to lock her down. And I find that in particular, Fox Sheik is a matchup where a lot of the times something people mess up is they try to do an input and then she barely has time to get a jab out or something, and then it messes up their whole next two or three inputs.
Right.
Cool. Maybe could have slid off on that down throw. Not quite, but I might have tried to DI the first down throw to set up for a slide up on the second one. Nice. Oh, that was a really good low dash. Nice. Oh. Your left side ledge dashes seem better than your right side ledge dashes.
My left side.
Is that true or is it coincidence?
Um, I'm not sure.
Oh, something you can pay attention to, maybe.
Cause they used to be really bad on the left side, but then I practice it a lot,
Makes
so
sense.
maybe they are better.
Yeah. That's not very good. Did you miss a dash? I wonder. Let's see this. Nope, doesn't even look like it. I think you just decided to laser very close to Sheik.
Yeah, I think I just shot a laser.
Very risky. Oh, nice.
Yeah, way too close.
I mean, I think again, I think there's been massive improvement from the first time we watched. It's crazy. I do think there's just a lot of situations you either haven't thought about or don't have answers to, which is totally okay. And I think that's where, like, when I watch you right now, I feel like by far the biggest problems you have could all be solved by doing like analysis and like testing situations, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Did the show clip up right? Yeah. So here you like CC grab this. Is that on purpose? Oh no, you didn't CC grab. I understand. What a weird grab. Why'd you grab there?
Wait, how did I grab that? Did I press Z?
You.
I did press Z.
Why would you be pressing?
Oh,
Do you
L
do aerials
cancel?
or L cancel with Z?
I mean, I'm on the box, so yes.
Oh, that explains a lot. Yeah, so you totally tried to L cancel and you just grabbed.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is completely ridiculous. Nice. Oh, you should have just held the ledge and then pressed forward and up smashed him.
Normal get up.
Yeah. Side B? Oh, you can side B there. After the needle hits you, you'll just sweet spot the ledge.
Hmm.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I like panic,
Mm-hmm.
press direction. I can just get hit.
You should also hold ledge here. There's no reason to do anything because, like, so if we pause here, Like, do you see that? Like, all she can do is she can up be anywhere from like here to here to here to here to here. But like, if you just hold the
Mm,
ledge, she's just dead no matter what. And if she goes on stage, you could just like ledge hop bear or ledge hop up bear her.
okay.
But
Is
if
there any danger of her going directly to my body if I'm not invincible here?
well, you tell me.
I okay, I am invincible, so
Well,
there's
even if you
no.
weren't, so she's about to poop right now. Is that enraged to hit your body?
I I don't know enough about Cheek's poof.
Yeah. So that's exactly when I was saying. By the way, you need to just like analyze and test. That's exactly what I mean. It's like almost all the things going wrong are things like you not knowing the answer to something, essentially.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad thing. It just means you have to learn the answers. In this case, I mean, Sheik's poof is big, but it's definitely not from here to here. It's like maybe here to here or something.
Mm,
Yeah. So like this hitbox right here, like that's the hitbox over there. It's bigger than it looks, but it's definitely not going to reach all the way to the ledge. Does that make sense?
right.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Um, we could maybe go over that game again in a second. Let's watch a bit more of the next one. Not even a project skill. So this was maybe bad. So let's look at this real quick. So the Nair at this low of a percent is almost never gonna combo into Shine. Does this make sense?
Yeah,
It's
because
just
I hit her so early. Like, it's a rising there, and
yeah,
then,
and it's so low percent.
yeah.
So I mean, I literally think here you were just like, oh, this is surely gonna combo. And if you look, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you were like, it actually would have comboed if you were frame perfect, but it's like that's the type of window you're playing with because if you're not perfect here, but you always think you're gonna have a combo, you know what the Sheik's gonna do here? She's just gonna shield grab you, and you're gonna wave shine through her and get shield grabbed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is very common though, because like one of the easiest ways to beat a Fox or Falco player is just to figure out if they think they have a true combo off their shine or not, and then just if they do think they have a combo, you just kill them every time. So it's something to really pay attention to. And here's kind of that thing I was talking about for Sheik, where this is the range where things get really awkward. So like, she does like a spaced move here. You're not really sure what to do, which is okay. You end up grabbing, which doesn't work at all because it pushes you back too far. And then now you start kind of scrambling. You're like, crap, you're still holding your shield from when you tried to shield grab. I don't know if you saw that, but your shield came out still. Which is a bad habit. You probably want to let go of your trigger here. See?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, let me spot dodge, but do you see why spot dodging isn't very good? After whiffing that grab.
Um, I guess no, I don't know why it's not good.
Let's talk about reaction points. So, before you spot dodged, maybe go forward. Okay, this is the first frame of your spot dodge. Let's count
Okay.
backwards. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So what's she doing?
She's shielding.
Okay, so this is the last thing you can see before you chose to spot dodge. If I told you that you're whipping a grab and Sheik is shielding here, would you still choose to spot dodge?
No, because she can't hit me.
Exactly. And even if she could hit you, it would have been her grabbing to punish your grab, and it would have hit you like it would have already been catching you, right?
Yeah.
So if you see this, and not only did she shield 15 frames before, she actually shielded. Look how long before. It was almost like it's like you said. It was almost like 30 frames, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see the shield here, you would realize that like either she's gonna grab right now, in which case you're fucked, or she has to do an out of shield action. And Sheik's out of shield actions that could be relevant here are like wave dash, short hop, full hop, essentially. Maybe roll, spot dodge, but the ones that you're worried about are like a short hop or a wave dash.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen this situation like so clearly because
Awesome.
she literally can't hit me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I always have the default reaction of like, I whiffed something, so I have to like spot dodge or like
And
be
you might
defensive.
have to spot dodge when you whiff something, but it depends what your opponent's doing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I will say, if she had like shielded for like I don't know 1 frame for some reason, and then wave dashed out immediately, she probably could have punished your grab. But the whole thing is, she didn't just shield for what's it called for like 1 frame. You, in theory, notice that she's shielding now, and then we go through all these frames that you're hopefully seeing. Oh wow, she didn't just shield for this long. She's been shielding for like this whole time. And then once I see that she's been shielding for this long, my desire to spot dodge like decreases significantly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. You spot dodge, and now again we do some frame counting. So hopefully you agree that actually watch in real time. Hopefully you see that when you spot dodge, before the spot dodge ends, you can see that she had rolled.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Hopefully it's pretty clear. So if she rolls, then now you essentially perfectly know what's happened. It's this situation where you have slight frame advantage, but it's pretty much even. And then what do you try to do? I don't know, something with a crouch. You get jabbed, and you end up crouching the jab into a jump. And what I wonder is, like, I don't know what your plan was here. It's hard for me to tell if this was intentional or not. Like, if your plan was to crouch cancel into a jump, or if you had something else in mind. I mean, it might be hard for you to tell
because it could be a remnant of like the spot dodge I'm already holding down.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, right? Like, it's really hard for me to tell if you were just holding down because you were spot dodging or because it was an intentional decision, you know? And these are the things that you have to think about, because, like, if you look at this, imagine you had tried to do another input, I don't know what, and her jab like messed you up. Like, you tried to dash and you got jabbed out of it. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Remember where I said Sheik has time to sneak a jab in and it'll mess your inputs up? It doesn't seem like it actually messed you up here because you crouched. Oh no, you did try to shine, which is what I actually thought you were trying to do, and then I didn't see an input. So that's perfect. Yeah, so you tried to shine and then jump out of it. Do you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the more common thing, and I was actually surprised that you would just crouch into jump. But then you have to think about, was shine a good option at this range where she's rolling? And then that's where the game physics come in, where you have to tell me how far does Sheik's roll go. And if I pause the game right here, and I say Sheik is rolling left, you need to guess in your mind where that ends up. And if you don't know that it ends up here, that's something that needs to change.
Yeah. If I were to do it again, I would still probably shine because I would think the Sheik's roll is shorter than that.
Yes, but it's actually an insanely long roll.
Yeah.
And if Sheik was closer, that shine was actually a good option. So then you might have judged the frame advantage correctly, but not the distance correctly. And then you get jabbed out of it, and guess what? Lots of people would try to wave shine here out of this jab. It looks like you didn't. You just tried to jump, which is also fine. But it's one of those things where imagine you try to wave shine there, and then you just get hit by the Sheik after the jab. Like, have you ever gotten hit by Sheik just spamming like jab into down smash and stuff like that?
For sure.
Yeah, and that's usually because of things like this. So this is kind of how it all comes together. The game physics, the reaction points, the mix-ups, it all comes together like this. And if you watch it in real time, you might not be able to analyze it at that level as easily as I am immediately. But what you hopefully can see is it kind of looks like you're kind of scrambling around, unsure, whiffing. Like, it doesn't really look good, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I noticed. I'm just like, okay, you're kind of not knowing what to do here. You look lost. You're just kind of jumping around, whiffing, and then your opponent's able to get this very easy looking grab, right? They're just like, man, he's just gonna whiff. But really, there's all these reasons leading up to it, and hopefully, if you can pay attention here, you'll realize that like doing this drill is just like way too risky versus the jab. The jab recovers very quickly.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna get tech chased. You messed up your wake up shine. This is funny. I assume you thought your shine hit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can actually hit confirm your shine, and that's something else you could practice. It's reaction points, because the shine has hit lag, right? So
yeah, I've done that safe state a bit.
Yeah.
Like versus Marth. Hit confirming my shine versus Marth.
important. Oh, that was very risky. Gonna just put yourself right above an invincible person. So if we look at this real quick. Did you see his DI here?
Yeah, to the right.
Yeah, do you see this SDI? Let's count from here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Fox's drill has 9 frames of lightning lag, I think. So you can just do the math. This is already going to be way more than the number of frames for your reaction. You could have maybe reacted to that SDI and not shine. So that's another one you could practice. You could practice drilling people and checking SDI. It's a reactable thing. It's not always reactable, but it might be reactable. So you might as well always be checking. And that's something you could practice. You could practice drilling through someone and hitting random number of hits and trying to get a sense for like, hey, when can I react to this? And you'll see a lot of Foxes, like as they get better, I'm sure you've seen this, but they'll just do drill and then they just won't shine just because they're like, yep, drill is kind of inconsistent. So why would I shine? I can grab or full hop or dash dance and do a mix up, right? Drill full hop is kind of the meta one. Like everyone just learns, oh, yep, just drill full hop. But then they start drill full hopping even when they had a free combo with their drill shine. And it'll be like literally top 30 players and they'll do this. And I'll be like, wait, why'd you do that? And they're like, oh, well, drill shine's really inconsistent. I'm like, yeah, but like, did you react? Did you check? And like, sometimes it's not reactable. But like, can you see how it would make you a better player if you like could always determine if it was reactable or not before committing?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be insane.
Yeah. That's what I do when I play Melee. And it's not what a lot of people do when they play Melee. And it is one of the things that people need to get better at. One of the many things. Even this here, I think you decided to move out of shield somehow. Looks like. Yeah, so you jumped. Looks like you just tried to short hop. Yep. Question is, during that short hop out of shield, could you have seen the forward smash?
Let's see. Yes.
Okay, so you chose to fastball out of your short hop, right? But if this is the first frame of forward smash, let's count. So did you know this was an F smash when I show you?
Not in this frame.
What about this frame?
I could see.
Yeah, I think this frame's pretty obvious, right? So if we count from here, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You haven't even jumped yet. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And we've talked about it a bit, but your reaction time when you're expecting something, I'm sure you've heard, is very different than when you're not expecting something, right? But I'm not telling you to have a super cracked 14 frame reaction to things you're not expecting. This is frame, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Like, this is, like you said, 30, 40 frames. So then at this point, instead of fast falling, what should you do?
Just bear.
Well, your bear probably doesn't hit the side platform on Stadium from a short hop. Right? If you imagine real quick, your bear pretty much doesn't hit any side platforms as Fox from a short hop.
Right.
It might hit a shield on like a Yoshi's platform, but like usually it's not going to hit here. Does that make sense?
That might be why I fast fell and then tried to full hop again because I knew.
What could you have done here instead?
Rising up air.
Would have probably single hit if you did short hop.
Oh, just double jump out of the short hop.
Yeah, so you could just double jump there, right?
Right.
So the short hop Fox Bear could hit, but because Fox Bear is like a very particular angle, like you would have to be at the right spacing, and sometimes there's some weird box contortions with their body and stuff. So it would just be way more reliable to do a double jump bear here.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, when I watched this, I saw you short hop out of shield, and even though I didn't know what you were gonna do, I was like, oh, you could just double jump bear out of that. And it only matters because when you landed, look what happened. He got his shield up. So even though you reacted, you actually, if he shielded this without getting poked, well, here he shield dropped, like he probably would have got poked anyway. You would have pushed him off, and then you would have been the one getting punished, right?
Yep.
And that's what a lot of Melee is. It's one person messes up, the other person tries to do something about it. And then even though they try to do something, that messes up, and then the other person gets punished and just does that back and forth. There's another one, by the way. Sheik's poof. Can't really hit you from this distance, so I would just hold ledge. You don't need to get up. Also, it might help you feel more comfortable if you learn to grab the ledge later. That way you would have more invul when it came time for Sheik to do the up B. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Sheik cannot... So right now, if she up Bs, do you see how the first part of her up B can't grab the ledge from here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know that distance well, but knowing how far that goes is very big. So like here, like we can look at it. So that's about how far it goes. We can watch it again, and you can just get a good sense for it. Really pay attention to it. Because essentially, if that first part can't snap to the ledge, then you are not in any rush to grab the ledge at all. You just have to grab it before the poof bar happens.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, looks like you tried to... I wonder what you tried to do here. Tried to do something out of shield. And you didn't know how much shield stun the strong backer would have, but it messed you up. Here, let's talk about this drill. Reaction points again. Okay, so you're about to drill. That is probably pretty dubious that you're full hopping off the side platform trying to hit him. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're kind of way too high here. He probably has time to respond, right? But whatever, we're here now. For whatever reason, maybe you meant to short hop, maybe you didn't, I don't know. Right now, I think you realize it was maybe a bit risky, and you chose to drift back to the left, right? But I want you to watch carefully. What is this?
F tilt?
Yeah, F tilt. So this is 1 frame. By the time Sheik or Fox Downer has like 9 frames of landing length, so by the time you land, easily reactable. If it's reactable, the question is, was it reactable in time for you to change your drift, actually? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 14, 15. Maybe for 1 frame of drift, 2 frames of drift, hard to say. But it matters only because, look at this. Do you see?
Whoa.
So it's because one of your drill hits lift, right? So if you look, this is the drill hitting, and then this, it's not hitting right now. It's not hitting right now. Do you see? Because Fox drill has like gaps in it, right?
So just holding forward.
Yeah, maybe, or like, I don't know if you fast fell or not. I wasn't really paying attention. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. But essentially, like, changing how you drifted, even for literally 1 frame, could have potentially increased your odds of this, like, drill shine connecting, essentially. Also, you're a bit slow off the shine on your drill, so that's something else. We saw you were slow off your nair, too. So your shines off your aerials aren't, like, super frame perfect, which is understandable. It's not easy. But it's something to practice. And even here, here's like another reaction we could talk about. So you have a nice dash dance here. You're looking for a dash dance. And then as you're dash dancing, hold up. Look what Sheik does here. So this is this animation, and then this is this. Do you know what this is?
Is she jump squat? Is that jump squat?
So this is more what the jump squat would look like. I think she's landing there, but what about this frame?
Turn around?
Yep.
Maybe.
Turn. And then this is what?
Dash.
Yep. So she's dashing here. Let's say you realize that she's dashing. Okay. So if you, while you were dash dancing, you saw that she had turned around and dashed. About now is when you would have realized that she had dashed towards you. So if right now we could pause and go back in time and tell you, okay, you saw that Sheik dashed towards you, would that not change how you would at least consider playing this?
Right.
So here, it almost looks like you tried to
shield.
Yeah, maybe you would have shielded. Not that shield was definitely the right option. Like, there's mix-ups, right? She could grab you. Yeah. But it almost looks, in real time, it looks like one of two things. It either looks like you just didn't realize that she could hit you there, or that you thought she would try to hit you and that you were trying to outrun it, you know? Like, those are the two things that it looks like to me. But if you think you were thinking something else, you should also say so, obviously. Like, it kind of looks like you wanted to be aggressive and, like, stay near her. Like, oh, maybe she's going to forward tilt. Maybe she's going to jump. And then when she didn't do that, you were like, oh, okay, well, I'm very close. Let me create some space. But it was, like, already too late and you got hit.
Yeah, the initial dash forward, like the spacing is pretty tight here. It's like hard to
It's hard to look at.
like I'm not it's hard to prevent an attack from Sheik
Agreed.
from the spacing.
And of course it depends. Maybe you didn't think she was going to attack, in which case that's totally fine. Maybe you were looking for something else. But again, let's say you're looking for something else and then it doesn't happen. You're like, okay, I'm looking for a short hop. And if she short hops, I'm going to try to be aggressive. And then you realize, wait, she's dashing towards me. Do you see why, like, shielding would significantly go up on your priority list of options?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's really strong because imagine you're a fox who, when Sheik doesn't go aggressive there, you're always near her and ready to pressure her. But if she ever does go aggressive, you're always ready to shield at the last second. You can see why that would be hard to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because then she essentially has to call you out in a riskier way. She has to say, even though I'm already calling out your movement, I also have to be down to grab as opposed to dash attack, and I have to hit this tech chase after, and I also have to be right that you held shield, which, you know, maybe you just did something different, right? And you can even hold shield, and then you don't even have to hold shield for that long, you know? You just have to hold shield long enough to shield if she dash attacks, and then you can do something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just having shield in this situation would make it so much harder.
Yep.
For Sheik.
And the big thing is, if this were like a top 5 Fox playing here, I would assume that they just made the choice to get hit by that. Like, they were down for it. They're like, yep, I just thought something else would happen. But usually at a lower level, I feel like the Fox probably didn't even notice that the Sheik dashed towards them right here. Because it's a pretty tight reaction. Like, if you look at how fast it goes from you dash dancing to you getting dash attack, there's not that much time, right?
Yeah. And the spacing is like, I'm in the middle of the stage and she's at the right side of the platform.
I agree. But do you see how it would be reactable though?
Yeah,
like when you watch it in real time, do you feel like you saw that she dashed before you got hit by the dash attack? Or do you feel like by the time you saw her dashing, it was already you getting hit?
Like in game, it just feels like
in game it definitely feels like the second, right?
At all.
But what about watching it now?
Yeah, I could see like she's coming at me.
Yeah.
And I could put up shield.
Right here, she's coming at you, right? And you can see it. And that completely changes everything. So I know you were talking about, you know, going into the lesson, you're like, all right, no, I kind of get the idea, but like the application isn't quite clicking, right? But hopefully you're seeing how like a lot of actions nice. Oh, Nair was really bad. You should have just probably grabbed here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a random thought, I think. Let's talk about this one. So reaction points again, / autopilot habits. So here, he's whiffing a bear the other way. Do you see why Nair is not what I would do in response to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think grab would be better.
If you could get there in time. The other question is, do you even actually have time to get there?
Oh, in the first place. I see.
Like look at this. Like she's already done.
Yeah, I'd have to be like right next to her in order to do anything.
Not, right? So there's a mix-up here. You could grab, and then it would be her doing certain things. But like, for example, if she dashed backwards here, grab would whiff. And again, maybe that's why you have the instinct to nair, which is what we talked about the first lesson. It's like, it feels a lot harder, because if she dashes back here, she's probably not punishing the nair on that tight of a spacing. But if she shields, you at least get some shield pressure, right?
Yeah.
So it feels good. But I do think it's important, by the way, you tried to dash back here, it looks like, which you definitely should have been holding shield or shining, if that makes sense. You didn't nair that close to her shield.
Mm.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like these little things. It's like not only do you have to react, but again, game physics. How does it add up? And you'll see that like Sheik is not laggy enough that you really should have been trying to punish. Oh, that was weird. Do you think you meant to up air?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So hopefully, I don't know if you've thought about it, but once Sheik is kind of near that edge of the stage, you really just want to be pressuring her with Bear, because your goal is to get her off stage. Even here, if you had Bared, it probably would have been pretty good. And then here, instead of jumping off like this, it'd be much better to just go to the ground and then full hop and then use the threat of the bear to force her to recover really far off stage. Because once you get her off stage, she has to be on stage and then you get the whole edge guard sequence, right?
Yeah, that's like what I actually want.
Yeah. Like, it'd be cool if you got an up air off the top, don't get me wrong, but another aerial on shield. I actually think your L cancel into shine success rate is not very high. And I don't know if it's because you don't try to shine or if it's because you mess up otherwise. But like, you could be shining here. Yeah, see, you tried to dash. Do you see it?
Yeah, I think I do try and just aerial dash a lot.
Yeah, but that's not very safe on shield.
Yeah.
As you're saying, it could be safe if it's spaced and if it's a really late aerial, but you really need to shine after a lot of aerials. Anything point blank, pretty much, you're gonna have to shine to be safe. Oh, smash.
Yeah.
Even this is a classic, dude. Even top box players mess this up all the time. It's just a free kill. Why are you afraid to up smash?
I thought about this like at kill percent. Like this was a super big problem of mine. I guess it still is, but like cleaning this up in a lot of other spots has been super helpful.
Yeah, I mean,
like
it's just a free kill that you're passing up sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, dude. You literally top level melee. I see it constantly. I'm like, well, why are you grabbing? Like, be brave. Just do your up smash. Hey, another reaction point. Small but interesting. So you go for bear here. Let's watch carefully. What is this? From Sheik.
Just still wave dash?
It's jump squat, right?
Or jump squat.
We don't know if it's a wave dash or a jump yet. Because she could wave dash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what?
Okay, well, she's in the air.
Okay, so she still might be trying to wave dash, like maybe she's not frame perfect. But we definitely see that she's airborne, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if she's airborne, we count these frames. This is about like 8 or something. Plus, don't forget, bear landing lag is going to be like 9 or something. So by now, if you knew she was in the air, would you choose to shine here?
No.
Yeah.
Because she's low percent.
She's low percent and she got hit in the air, you're probably not going to choose to shine. Again, very small thing here. I think even a lot of really high level players would shine there. But you just don't have to.
Yeah.
Here's the laser habit that every fox in the universe has. This is another one. You're resetting to neutral, so you're like, let me get a free laser. But if you just didn't shoot the laser, you probably would have punished that dash attack. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
She just dash attacks right into
nothing,
open space.
Yep. Because you just landed from a full hop. And this is where, again, your opponent also has a lot of the same problems you do. So this is like game physics, mix-ups, reaction points. Sure, your opponent saw the full hop, but they either didn't calculate risk reward reasonably, or they for some reason thought they could close this distance faster than they could. And it's really not even that close, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if you're making these mistakes, you gotta think your opponents are also making lots of mistakes like this. So, you know, I'm more on the lookout for people to misjudge things like that than maybe you are, because I understand that these are mistakes lots of players make. So when I'm playing, you know, it's kind of what I'm looking for. Here's another spot, by the way. I don't think the snare was very good because it looks very autopilot to me. Just you're like, oh, let me. If your nair trade's here, there's no reason to nair forward again at the spacing, right?
Yeah.
Not only is it, you agree it's not likely to hit, but I don't know if you look at the percents. This is a very easy percent for Sheik to start just forward tilting you, right? And she's at a percent where nair doesn't lead to anything, so I'd say even more than usual, this nair is very not good. But let's look at what happens. Okay, she's shielding. Okay, jump squat. She's jumping. Okay, if you know that she's jumping as you land from the snare, what would you do here?
I would not shine.
Yeah, you would definitely not shine. What would you do?
Maybe jump again.
So I think there's something even better than that.
Up tilt?
Yeah, up tilt looks amazing here, right?
Yeah.
Because you're kind of under her, right? So like, if you see her fair here, it totally wouldn't hit if you were up tilting right now. It actually only hits because you shield. You see? Like, look at where the fair is connecting. You can kind of see the like animation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're up tilting right here, you just destroy her, and that's like another example of a reaction point. And again, if you react to the jump frames, so not even the jump squat, just the airborne 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You don't even have to be like super duper cracked. It's just like, well, I've already done this nair that like I probably have no business doing. And I see that she's shielding, right? So when I see her shielding, that's also what's getting my brain ready to go, because it's like, well, any input out of shield has to pretty much be a jump. Does that make sense? Like, she can't dash out of shield, right? She can't forward tilt out of shield. She can only roll, spot dodge, grab, and jump.
Right.
Is that pretty clear in your mind that those are the only out of shield options?
Yeah. So if we know she's gonna jump, how do I approach the situation more optimally?
Well, I mean, you consider what you would do. So on each option, essentially. So like right now, you've already decided to nair. We agree it wasn't that good, but you've already done it, right?
Yeah.
You're watching her. You see that she's shielding. So right now, what I would be worried about is if she short hops out of shield, and clearly does it early enough to where she can pressure me. Especially if she drifts right slightly, like away from me, she's easily going to be able to fair pressure my landing, and there's not much I can do, right? So that's mainly what I'm thinking about. I'm like, okay, that is the most likely thing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, she did jump. But then I would notice, A, that she didn't jump that early relative to my nair. Do you see what I mean? Like, she would want to be falling right now, not rising.
Yeah.
And that's just a timing you have to know. You have to, which you might not know currently, but you have to know, like, okay, if she short hops, when does she need to short hop relative to my short hop to be able to pressure me effectively? And if he doesn't even go airborne until right before I land, then that's really good for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because she's on the way up, Fox is on the way down. Fox falls really fast. And in general, you can kind of think about it as like, it's like your short hop is just shorter than hers. Like the whole cycle of it happens faster. So if she doesn't short hop before you short hop, you're always going to get to the ground before she's ready to hit you.
I see.
Now, if she short hops kind of at the same time or maybe slightly after, because she can outrange you with her big moves, she can still pressure you, but it probably won't be a true punch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then if she jumps this late, I'm like, wait a second, you could drift back here, but then I can also see the initial drift on the jump, which is also something you have to practice. Is like, okay, when I see someone jump, how soon do I notice their drift, right? So right now, can you tell that it's not a jump backwards? How about now? How about now? Can you tell it's a jump forward, right? And this is something you have to get better at, because I think if I were playing here at the moment, very high chance I would have up tilted this.
Yeah.
So does this kind of make sense?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Also, I guess part of the issue is like I don't have like nair up tilt verse jump like even in my like toolkit. It's like not even an option.
Yes. So this is what we said at the beginning, right? Where it's like, even if you're reacting, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
Because you have to do the analysis to go with it. And now that we've analyzed it and we've talked about how your short hop interacts with her short hop, and then maybe you could go to training mode and test it and be like, let me make a Sheik short hop over and over, and I'm going to short hop towards her at different timings and look at like what it looks like, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you'll see is you'll start having a sense for, oh, wow, if I short hop way before her, like, if anything, I'm probably at advantage here. Because if you think about it, Sheik doesn't really have moves that hit below her very well, right? She doesn't have like a Falco down air or something, or a Fox down air.
Yeah.
So if she short hops kind of late and is above you, you'll realize, like, unless she preemptively decided to down air, she's pretty much fucked. Now, if she jumps to the side of you, though, it's just very different because her moves are way, way better from the side. They're much faster, they're much bigger, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so hopefully this is coming together in a way where you see, like, oh, okay, well, I didn't even have the answer, so the reaction wouldn't have helped me, but this is where you react and you go, dang, what should I have done there? And then you think about it either in the moment or you note it for later and you go, okay, and you do a mental note like, man, if Sheik is shielding, I really want to think about what her out of shield options are when I whiff an aerial. Or you want to think, okay, well, if I short hop and she short hops, how does that actually work? And then you go think about it later. Or you like ask someone what they think. Or you try to find it in a VOD, or you test it, or, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how you get better. Because that is a very tough reaction with a tough answer. And I wouldn't expect you to have done that here at all. But I do expect you to see the jump and start thinking, dang, what do I do?
Yeah.
Cool. So do you feel good about that?
Yeah.
Whoops. Here's another one.
Yeah, I just didn't even react at all. I already put the shine grab.
Yep, you sure did.
Like
and then let's look at this. When can you see her roll? This is the first rank.
Now, yeah.
So you could have reacted. Imagine how cracked you would have been if you, instead of shine grabbing, like wave dashed out of your shine. Again, this is really hard though, and I don't even think like even literally the best foxes in the world might not have done it.
I kind of like
how it would be possible to do.
Yeah, this is a good save state actually. Yep. Like
But I do think your return on investment on it is probably not that high for this specific one because it's such a niche situation. Yeah. But I think getting your brain used to the idea that you can like just, you know, have these expectations and set up differently. So like here, for example, again, it wasn't a late aerial and it wasn't like an empty land. It was like kind of an early up air. So he has it's just like the one on the platform. He has time to move. So maybe even a better player just wouldn't have even gone for the shine grab. Do you see what I mean? Especially because you're invincible. So a better player might have just grabbed immediately, or they would have just waited for the roll immediately.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's no point shine grabbing, kind of. You're literally invincible, and the up air to shine doesn't trap them there. Does that make sense?
Right.
So this is why I said that your return on investment's not that high on optimizing this specific reaction. I was just I'm wanting to point out every single opportunity where it clearly could have impacted you, even though sometimes that's not the problem. The problem is maybe you should have thought about it differently. But just because you're like, man, how did these reaction points actually apply? I just kind of want to point out every single one, regardless of like how practical or not practical they are.
That's super helpful, yeah.
Cool. Glad. Also, you have the hot habit every single player in the universe has, which is if they up tilt near someone and it doesn't hit, they up tilt again 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that is very bad for pretty obvious reasons, I think. So you should think about that. So here you up tilt, it whiffs, she's jumping. Hopefully you see why up tilting again doesn't really make a whole ton of sense. Maybe a crouch here would be good. You see why up tilt not very good there.
The second up tilt is not even close to hitting. Like, so like.
Here's another drill reaction, you know, and it's everywhere. There's all these little things. Okay, he rolled. Do you know how far the roll goes? Okay, you drill. Okay, he's grabbing. If you notice that grab, maybe it helps you drift back in time. Maybe it does. Maybe because you're overshooting in case he dashes back, right? Maybe you don't react in time to change your drift, but you react in time to choose not to shine. Like, do you kind of see how there's so many possible points?
Mm-hmm.
Because here, if you saw that grab startup, if there was time to react and change your drift, you would. If there's not time, maybe you'll choose not to shine. You'll you'll choose to do drill. I don't know, turn around grab. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll say, hey, I'm just going to be out of range completely. I'd rather just play a mix-up, and you'll choose to do drill into dash dance, etc., etc., etc. And these are all things you have to actually learn to react to. Also, here's another really common one. People love doing this up air even when it has no chance to hit. Happens all the time. But if you just waited for him to fall just a tiny bit, it wouldn't have been a true combo, but you might have actually had a chance to pressure him here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. How much time do we
Or like I could do a full hop and then just go back to the ground.
Yeah, I agree. But you could also just stand still and wait until it's time to do the up air, then do the up air, and then he kind of has to double jump. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're pretty much out of time. Let's talk about one more real quick because I just saw it come up. Okay, so you're about to waveland. What is he doing right now? Do you know this animation?
Roll.
Yep. So when we see this, what do you think the best move is?
Up tilt.
There's something even better, probably.
Shine.
Yeah.
Shine.
Why is shine better
grab.
than up tilt here?
It gives me more time to react and like space for it, kind of.
That is one advantage to shine. But if you had time to react in up tilt anyway, then shine would still be better than up tilt. So look at the percent. What happens if you up tilt to that 80 here?
If she DIs out, it doesn't combo. But I was thinking if she DI'd like properly, it could like combo to up air. But
okay, so after the lesson, since we're about to wrap up, boot up melee and put a Sheik on the ground behind Fox at 80 and up tilt them and see what happens.
All right.
I think you will be not super surprised when you see it, but you'll be like, wait, why didn't I think of this? I just want you to see what happens. But also, wave shine up smash pretty much kills it this percent.
Ooh.
If you wave shine her to the left, I don't know if you've thought about this before, but if you up smash someone near the ledge, it's much better because if they DI in, that's bad DI for the up smash. But if they DI out, then they'll go so far off stage that they're probably dead anyway.
80%.
Yeah. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway.
Oh, it doesn't even combo.
Oh, you tried it?
So far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason for that, and the reason why you had a probably slight misunderstanding, is because if you up tilt someone on the ground versus in the air, it's a different hitbox with Fox. So you get the very strong hitbox that pulls them towards you if you up tilt a grounded opponent with your back to them. But if you do, if they're in the air, like even if you put Sheik one frame in the air and you up tilt her behind you, it'll do the up tilt hitbox that combos into up air at 80.
I see. Okay.
So if you do that same exact thing you're doing right now, but put Sheik in the air for literally one frame, up tilt up air will combo, and it'll probably look more how you were expecting it to.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Cool. So yeah, this is also something you have to know. So there's just all these things. And does the up smash thing I explained make sense about up smashing near the ledge being stronger?
Yep.
So do you still have melee open actually?
Yeah, I still have it.
Yeah, so just put them at 80 roughly, and your shine does 5%. Just wave shine her to the left at the spacing and up smash and see what happens. And set her to DI away and set her to DI in, and you'll see that it feels pretty good probably.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. Just get a full edge guard.
Yeah, right. She just goes really, really far, and if she DIs in, she probably dies, right?
Yeah.
Nice. So anyway, dude, that's kind of hopefully we talked about a ton of things, and I hopefully gave you some ideas, but hopefully you see the importance of why the analysis and the thought experiments and the training mode and the VOD watching all is part of the reaction points, because you're actually playing like pretty well. There's still some autopilot, some habits, some mistakes, but I think that's normal. There's already way less than there was the first time we watched. So if you just keep up what you're doing, I'm confident it will improve. But there's just so many situations you just don't have the answers to. or you don't know how to react to, or you have a bad habit that stops you from doing the right thing. Do you kind of see that?
Yeah.
So that's how I would approach thinking about it. If you have questions, you can always send me them. Send me timestamps, send me situations, ask me questions. I'll try to help.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any other thoughts or questions or anything?
Yeah, when I'm VOD watching, like I feel like I'm skipping over the situations I that are important.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ones that you point out, I'm just like watching the VOD and then like I don't even register it
Well,
as
yeah,
a
because you don't know the
situation.
answers yet. It's easy to know
Yeah.
what to point out when you have the answers already.
Yeah.
You know. So for you, what I would say is the way you should approach watching VODs isn't to find all the things I'm finding. Um, it's just well, there's a couple things. It depends on your goals. Because if you're working on like game physics stuff, we talked about it some. But every time something surprises you, you should pause and rewatch and figure out, oh, Sheik's roll went further than I thought it did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you're watching to, for example, learn something from someone else's VOD, like let's say you're watching, I don't know, Leffen play or something. You're like, I want to learn. Something I would do is I would say something like, okay, um, I'm going to look for things that Leffen does in the matchup that I never do. And I'm going to look for things that I do that Leffen never does. Because, and I think if you just do that, it'll probably teach you a lot. Because if there's things that Leffen always does that you never do, like you watch 2 or 3 games of Leffen, right? I don't want you to spend like 40 minutes analyzing one game. That's a waste of time. Yeah. Watch like a set of stuff. And then be like, wow, Leffen always, I don't know, does this one thing. Like, I don't know, he always dash dances at this range. And I usually spam blazers here, or I usually full hop here, whatever. And I don't dash dance at this range. Or, oh wow, Leffen uses full hop bear a lot to keep Sheik in the corner. I don't do that. It's very likely that he does it for a good reason. And if he's doing it a lot, he probably thinks it's really good. And if you're not doing it, you might not be realizing it. But let's say there's something you do a lot that Leffen never does. Like, let's say there's a specific spot where you're like, oh man, I don't know. I use up tilt so much in these spots versus Sheik. And then you watch Leffen play and you're like, oh, he up tilts, but never in the spots that I do it in. That should probably make you stop and think, well, wait, why does he never do it? Either he doesn't realize something or it's actually pretty bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this type of thinking of like kind of just learning, like you should really just be trying to take 2 or 3 things away when you watch. Because like there's no way you're going to see everything I'm seeing right now. But as you watch and see these situations and then try to analyze them, so for example, you might find a spot that interests you while you're watching and go, dang, why does he do this here? Maybe you can watch it in depth and then that will lead you to thinking about like the reaction point or the game physics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. What's up?
Sounds good. It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Like it combines like my watching my own VODs with like
watching other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, if you want to set out to watch a VOD and specifically just focus on reaction points, that's also good. It's just about having like a goal in mind when you watch the VODs. More so than just being like, because like, yeah, when I watch your VOD, I can just see all this with no goals in mind, but I have a lot more practice doing it than you do. But if you take the same Fox Sheik VOD we just watched, and you go, okay, let me figure out all the spots where I feel like I could have been reacting that I wasn't. Yeah, I think that would be a great use of your time. It just would be, that would be why you're watching the VOD. You wouldn't just be watching it in general and seeing what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, have a great rest of your day. And if you have questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.